Hello again, you're listening to the Trading Through Coronavirus podcasts from Business West with me, Nigel Barker. Now, last week, Claire Ralph from our policy team gave us a really good insight into the government's furlough scheme. Since then, there have been some modifications to that, and Claire has been kind enough to outline those for us here.
This recording is to summarise the changes to the guidance released by the government over the weekend relating to the coronavirus job retention scheme, otherwise known as the furlough scheme. My name is Claire Ralph, Business West's Policy and Projects Manager, and this recording was made on the 7th of April and is correct at the time of publication. In last week's recording, I referred to uncertainty about how the furlough scheme applied to director shareholders of their own companies who had incorporated their businesses. A very welcome clarification is that these individuals can indeed make use of the scheme to the extent that they draw a salary through a PAYE scheme, as long as that scheme was in place and started by the 28th of February. The grant under the scheme continues to only apply to the salary component, with dividends paid out of the company's post-tax profits excluded from being eligible. The important aspects for affected businesses to note are that there are documentation requirements for the company to comply with. The decision to furlough the director needs to be captured and retained in the company's records for 5 years. There needs to be written confirmation sent to the affected director of the decision to furlough, and the director needs to respond in writing agreeing to the furlough. The other very relevant consideration for director shareholders to consider if they make use of the furlough scheme is that a condition of the scheme is that they do not undertake any work for the company whilst on furlough which generates revenue or is of some other economic benefit. The guidance clarifies that they are able to fulfil their statutory duties under the Companies Act 2006 legislation, for example, filing accounts with Companies House, but they must be very careful not to do anything in addition to meeting these minimum requirements. Whilst on furlough, the employee can undertake training, but we would advise caution in relation to directors and other office holders in this area if the training was to be of long-term benefit for the business. The minimum furlough period remains 3 weeks, and furlough periods can run consecutively whilst the scheme is in place. For employees under furlough by their employer, they are permitted to take other paid work with other organisations, whether they were the holder of additional jobs before being furloughed by one employer, or whether they seek out additional employment opportunities having been furloughed. If the second job is taken since being put on furlough, then this must be with the consent of the first employer, must be temporary in nature, and the employee be able to return to work with the furlough employer at short notice. There was originally a lack of clarity about whether employers could furlough workers on the basis of the workers' other commitments during the pandemic. For example, the need to remain at home to care for children given schools and nurseries remain closed. It has now been clarified that employees can indeed be furloughed if they are unable to work. For example, home working is not possible. It is important, however, to note that employers, when deciding which workers to furlough, must remain compliant with equality and discrimination laws which continue to apply. The furlough scheme is not available for employees who are on sick leave and in receipt of statutory sick pay or are self-isolating. A claim can be made if employees are furloughed because they are shielding in line with public health advice. Those employees would have received letters confirming that they are in an extremely vulnerable health category. Employers are recommended to exercise caution in distinguishing between these groups within their workforces, given the very different eligibility outcomes for claiming the grant under the scheme. The furlough scheme is not available for employees who continue to work for their employer but on reduced hours. Whilst on furlough, employees can provide no services nor generate no revenue for their employers' businesses. Employers are free to consider allocating any critical business tasks to staff that are not furloughed. While on furlough, the employee's wages will be subject to usual income tax and other deductions. For further advice and support, please monitor Business West Trading Through Coronavirus Hub or get in touch with the team via the web.
Claire Ralph there from the Business West Policy team. Don't forget to follow the Trading Through Coronavirus podcast through your usual channels. We're on Apple Podcasts now, and also you can find us on Google. Use the hashtag Trading Through Coronavirus and visit the website tradingthroughcoronavirus.co.uk. Trading Through Coronavirus is brought to you from Business West. And do remember, this weekend, enjoy the bank holiday, but stay home. Please, my friends in the NHS say it's really working, so let's keep that up. Take care.